Game week 1 has one game left in it. And look, to be honest, a lot of people are probably sitting there reflecting upon what has been a disastrous game week. I put out my reaction yesterday. Today, I'm back with a bit more of a clear mind and my transfer plans ahead of the game week. And let's be honest, there are some unbelievable calls from the card. It is off to a hot start. If you go back and look at the late mail last week, it hasn't actually made a dud call. We're going to dive a little bit deeper into it and work out whether the card is actually better than any AI algorithm. And with that being said, smash a like on the video. Leave me a comment with how you're going in your plans for Game Week 2 and what you're reacting post probably the Sunday aftermath. And if you haven't already smashed that subscribe button, please consider doing so. And with that being said, let's get into it. So here we are, the team as it looks after the end of Game Week 1. Yeah, so I've got one free transfer. I've already gone up a little bit in squad value. I'm up to 99.6, was still 0.5 of the bank because reindeers rose in price overnight. In fact, there were 3 price rises overnight. Lots of people making early moves. Semenyo rised from 7 mil to 7.1, and so did Ekatike, who's gone from 8.5 to 8.6. So that's very interesting stuff there. Now, look, a lot of my players have actually decreased in ownership, other than obviously reindeers. Gakpo's obviously gone up a little bit as well. But the rest have all gone downhill a little bit. And look, let's be honest, it was not a good week for my team. It's actually the worst game week I've ever had for Game Week 1. And that in itself was disappointing, considering I put so much effort into the fort plan. It just didn't work out as anticipated. So let's break it down. So Sells and Milinkovic, they were on track for a clean sheet and probably 12 points, which would have given me a more respectable score of about 45. But in reality, I mean, you can call it dubious penalty. It is what it is. You get these decisions throughout the season and in FPL. It doesn't mean it was a bad call. It's just unfortunate. You live, you wear it, you move on. 4 points from them. Obviously, Juve could have scored potentially in the first half against Sunderland. He didn't. And then in the second half, they capitulated. He gets 1 point. Collins, yellow carded, nowhere near the DC contributions. I don't know what was going on in that game, but I am concerned about him this week. So, but yeah, I mean, I did like Lacroix as well, but I thought Collins was better just for the attacking contributions. And it turns out in Game Week 1, Lacroix was probably the better pick. Then in the midfield, it was just a midfield where I had Saka, Palmer, and Bruno Fernandes that combined cost me 29.5 mil, and combined as a captain and the other ones in there, they got me 11 points. Like, are you kidding me? That's less than Haaland got by himself combined. That was out without captaincy on him. It was 3 points more than what Salah got without the captaincy on him. Like, unbelievably underperformance. I mean, I suppose I could have accepted it. Bruno, unfortunately, ended up on 11 DC contributions, 1 off the 12, so that would have been 4. That would have been slightly better. Saka was pretty invisible in the Arsenal game, and Palmer had one of those games we saw throughout the end of last season. Now, my knee-jerk reaction is just to ditch Palmer, because obviously I've still got 0.5 of the bank down to like maybe an Anderson or something like that, and then just upgrade Watkins to Haaland, because then I know guaranteed I'm probably going to get a decent return every week. But the fixtures say I've just got to persist. Like Saka and Palmer this week. Saka has Leeds at home. Palmer has West Ham away. Surely they return this week. Bruno's obviously got Fulham as well. The fixtures in theory for this week for my midfield are a lot better than they were in Game Week 1. So I think that's the key motto there. Gakpo obviously did what I was hoping. He outperformed Wirtz, and he almost outperformed Salah. If it wasn't for that 90-odd minute goal for Salah, it was well done to him and their owners. Reindeers was definitely the pick I thought he was going to be. Again, we're going to talk about him a little bit later, but he was probably outperformed his XGI really, really well. I still don't know how he didn't get a bonus point, but it is what it is. And then the forward line was just a stinker. Bowen looked close in the first half. Watkins didn't even had one shot the whole game. Like, Villa were just so underwhelming in Game Week 1. I don't know what else to say about that. And thank God I didn't press bench boost or anything like that. Even though on Fury I had a pretty pretty good bench. Talking hit the post, that would have been ironic if he'd actually scored and he was last man on the bench. That's generally how my luck goes with my benching decisions. De Kuyper was unlucky to get that clean sheet ruled out in the 95th minute. I mean, it was one of them game weeks where a lot of people, I think, are just going to have low scores unless you had Haaland in your team and you captained him, really. The missus smoked me this week. So there you go. And Evanlinson 1 point and Dubravka 2. I mean, yeah, it is what it is. We live, we roll, we move again. 37 points. We can only go up from here. I think I'm 8 million rank or whatever. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. What a start from the D-Unit. Let's go, boys. But let's talk about something that is positive. And look, I always talk about the mythical power of the card. Now, I should have listened to it, really. If I'd sat there and looked at some of these calls, I might have done much better for my own team. Last week, it called Haaland versus Salah. It went for Haaland. Haaland outscored Salah by 5 points. It went for Pedro Porro over Munoz. Wasn't much in that. Pedro Porro outscored him by a point. Milinkovic versus Murillo. That didn't matter. Didn't matter. It got the card. It could have gone for either. They got exactly 2 points each. Watkins versus Gyökeres. Watkins beat him by a point. Like, this is just unheard of. Anderson doesn't get the DC contributions, so Reindeers beats him with 10 points. I'm going a little bit early here. I'm expecting Kudus to beat Ndiaye. I mean, potentially that might not happen if Ndiaye scores 2 goals and then he beats Kudus. But he's got to get at least 10 points to beat Kudus. So I'm going to give the card that one for now. Bruno Fernandes versus Wirtz was exactly 2 points each. So that one didn't matter. Bruno was very lucky not to get a yellow card as well, by the way. And then Sells versus Sanchez. Call VAR the most jammy thing I've ever seen. Sanchez gets his clean sheet back because VAR intervenes with a call I've never ever seen given in a game of football ever. Make of that what you want. It is technically in the rules and I understand it, but it just seemed a weird thing to overturn a goal for. And then Sells, obviously, again, VAR with the handball, it's just, it is what it is. And yeah, the card's on fire though. It hasn't got one call wrong. At the moment, you could say that's really 8 from 8 because it hasn't got anything wrong. And I just can't believe that. I honestly can't believe how a card flip and that kind of luck can outdo the luck that I've had with my own team. It's unbelievably unlucky, really, isn't it? So, let's have a look at my early reactions from what we've seen in Game Week 1 so far in preparation for Game Week 2. Now, I was definitely right to be scared of Haaland. I said of the big dogs that I didn't have out of Salah and Haaland, he was the one that I was scared of the most because I was concerned that the forward line was going to be a bit iffy. And it turned out that the forward line was iffy. My 3 forwards, who looked really good on paper, combined for 5 points. Haaland smoked them. He almost tripled the combination of all 3, getting 13 points, 2 goals, the 3 bonus. He had the highest XG of the game week as well. He had a nice fixture on paper. Wolves, I think, are definitely going to be down towards the bottom. Yeah, I mean, he's good. I think, in reflection, I think Solio and a review and all the big content creators got it wrong. It was Haaland that they should have been banging on about, not Salah. Salah can definitely be covered this year, I believe, in the midfield. In terms of the forward line, though, I think Haaland potentially could be in a world of his own. And look, I'm not going to lie. If it wasn't for the good fixtures for some of my midfielders this week, I'd probably take a -4 to bring him in. Anderson and Kudos look good. Anderson and the other popular picks did not. So that's the Anderson from Nottingham Forest. Just want to clarify that. And Kudos did look really good as well. If he plays on the right, he's a good asset. And West Ham fans said that. The problem is we just don't have enough info from his time at Tottenham and how they're going to line up, whether he's going to be on the right all the time, if he's going to be in the 10, because he's much better when he's on the right, and we saw that. Johnson also scored and started in this game. I actually think that Solanke's going to struggle to get back into that team. He could definitely be on the bench post what I saw there. The other Anderson from Fulham, what did I say? The dude has no attacking potential. Fulham don't keep clean sheets. He didn't get DC points. Guess what? 2 points. I mean, it didn't matter really because all my defenders pretty much did the same thing. So I'm just saying, though, that pick, I didn't understand it. I still don't understand it. And Game Week 1 backed that pick up, that it was crap, essentially. Bruno, disappointing. Saka, disappointing. Palmer, disappointing. Wirtz, disappointing. Watkins, disappointing. There were so many semi-premiums / almost premiums that just didn't show up. It's like they forgot that it was Game Week 1 and they sat there and thought, I'm just going to have a cup of tea. Maybe I'll show up in Game Week 2. That's all I can say. They all failed miserably, let's be honest, and what a waste of money. Literally 47 mil of my team, 37 mil of my team wasted on 4 players of those 5, and they combined for less than 10 points. Actually, yeah, they combined for exactly 10 points of captain in there. Unbelievably bad. Just can't believe it. Questionable VAR calls are back in force, baby. I don't understand them. Game week 1, were you affected? Did you get affected by them? Did you dodge them? Were you one of them ones where you had Chelsea players, defenders, and all of a sudden you were like, oh, there goes the clean sheet. And then, boom, oh no, the clean sheet's back. Were you one of those lucky ones? Were you one of the unlucky ones where Forrest had that penalty and that happened? I mean, there were some other ones as well. Arsenal defence, I think, got quite jammy because I don't know how that wasn't a foul and a penalty on Cunha in the second half. He didn't get the ball. He took Cunha out. For me, I don't understand how VAR didn't give that a penalty. This is the problem with VAR. It's always questionable. It's always subjective. Sometimes, you've just got to take the good luck with the bad luck and just hope for the best, really. We also saw plenty of pre-60-minute subs for a lot of players. Frimpong, Kirkes. That's unfortunate. 59 minutes or whatever it was. It's just, and then we obviously saw Gyökeres go up before 60 minutes as well. I think we're going to see a lot of this season. It's going to be highly frustrating. So for that reason, I think it's always better to look at players that are more likely to stay on for 90 minutes because, my God, it's very frustrating if your player doesn't return and you end up with a 1-pointer because they're sub before 60 minutes. But I would expect a lot of it. So just keep that in mind. It's not going to be a one-off thing. I honestly believe this is something we're going to see, specifically with the deep squads of the teams that are in the Champions League. There's going to be mass rotation this year. It's going to be really hard to pick, and I think we're going to have to be on our games in preparation for it. So the Man City assets, and look, we have to talk about this man. He is the one I was scared of. Going Haaland over Salah, if you were one of those people, congratulations. You called it right. And on the deadline stream, as I said, that was the one I was most concerned about all season long. He'll be in my team before Burnley in game week 6. I'm not going to lie. I don't even know if I'll need a wild card or whatever. I potentially will just roll my transfer this week because then I can bring him in for free next week. I've got 0.5 in the bank. And if Saka and Palmer don't perform, one of them will be making way for a midfielder in order to facilitate the Haaland in move. That is definitely the play. That's where I'll be going with that. So, look, I think, again, if you went there and you captain him, my God, you're sitting probably in the top 4 million teams at least, rather than the bottom 8 million. So it is what it is. He had 2.01 XG recorded. 2.01 XG recorded and 2 goals scored. He was just incredible. He looked like the Haaland that started last season and the start of the season before that. He was back, baby. He was back. Man City attacking-wise were pretty back as well. They are definitely going to be a team to watch. Definitely a team to watch. They've got a nice kind of run to begin the season as well. Another player I want to touch on as well is Reindeers. Obviously, I did say all season, in my second video of preseason, I said this guy, his stats at AC Milan suggest that he'll be a great asset for City and massively underpriced at 5.5. I think for me, if you were to make a transfer this week, it's to get that man in. He's a bit of a no-brainer, but I will caveat that with he scored a goal and assist, but he only had an XGI, expected goals plus expected assists, of a 0.33. So he massively overperformed in this game week. But he was clearly Man City's best player, I thought. And I don't know how he didn't get any bonus points, but it is what it is. He did get yellow carded, so maybe that had something to do with it. Aït-Nouri had a really weird role in this game. He wasn't really that attacking, but he had a great start. He got 15 DC contributions and 9 points. Like, the clean sheet, the +2 DC, and he got 1 bonus point as well. But I don't think that's the role he's going to play moving forward. It looked like a Guardiola type of role, but Guardiola obviously missed out. That is something to caveat. Like, a lot of people are probably going to jump on Aït-Nouri because, like, oh my God, he looked really good. They got 9 points and he's off to a great start. He's in my draft team as well, in my draft league. But you have to remember, something exists called Pep Roulette. And I can guarantee you, just when you think that Reindeers and Aït-Nouri are locked, they'll be benched. And they'll come on and get you a 1-pointer. It will happen. It will happen. This is Pep Guardiola. The man will never change. That's what he does. I don't know if he does it to keep the players on their toes or whatever, but it is something that you have to watch out for. And trying to predict their lineup every week is unbelievably hard. It's just unbelievably hard. So on to the Forest assets, and look, lots of people had them. I had 2 Forest assets. Unfortunately, they combined for 4 points. If you went with one and it happened to be Chris, the Woody, the Woodpecker, and you didn't disrespect him like I did and write him off that he was no good because they signed Igor Jesus and Wood went off a bit cold towards the back end of last season, then you're a genius. 2 goals from 0.95 XG, literally doubling his XG as per usual. His first goal was a 0.07 XG chance. If that is not the Chris Wood that we saw last season, I do not know what is. He was brilliant. I sincerely apologise to my man, Chris the Woody the Woodpecker. Honestly, if I could go back in time, I probably would have picked you instead of Bowen, but I didn't. And I'm glad that you're doing very well for all the owners out there. If you did pick him, congratulations. You are off to a flyer. I've seen forward lines of Wood, Ekatike and Haaland, and my God, they got you 50 points combined if you captained Haaland. That is just unbelievably good foresight and good picking. Also, he has great fixtures, and he's still clearly the main man. We saw that in this game. Clearly the main man. Igor Jesus was back on the bench. We had Ndoye, Morgan, Gibbs-White, and Hudson-Odoi. It was very familiar Forest of old, and look, they tore Brentford apart in that first half. They were well worthy of the 3 goals. What I will say about the other Forest assets, dubious penalty wiped out the clean sheet, and obviously gave Thiago for Brentford a goal, which was nice for him. And he's obviously on penalties for Brentford, so that's something to keep in mind moving forward as well. But realistically, they defended quite well. Like, Brentford weren't really in this game, and then they get this penalty, it wipes out the clean sheet. It's one of those things. This can happen in a game of football. This can happen in any given week. So don't stress about it. The picks were still good on paper and on theory. Maybe next week the luck will change and Sells will save a penalty and they'll get a clean sheet against Crystal Palace. I don't know, but these things normally even themselves out over the course of the season. That's what football is. It's the law of probabilities, etc., etc. However, I will admit potentially the AI might have got the Anderson pick looking pretty good. Got an assist. He probably should have scored in this game as well. He actually got a 0.42 XG chance from memory. He looked great with an assist. He was unlucky not to get those DC contribution points. He was one off, a bit like Bruno, stuck on 11, which is unlucky. So, yeah, that's unfortunate. But he did look good at 5.5 mil again. I mean, I still don't like it because you're really picking him for the DC points, but he looked good in game week 1. Will that continue with the signings that Forest are looking to make? Who knows? But it is something to keep an eye on. Andy FPL Nightmare reckons he is the Geordie Maradona, so you never know. Maybe he is actually that good. Ndoye scores on his debut as well for Forest and could be an option moving forward. He is fairly reasonably priced. It's just going to be one of those things. We need a bit more information to see how Forest are going to play over the opening game weeks and how Europe affects them moving forward. So my game week 2 watch list, and these are the players that have caught my eye, and potentially after like the next week or so, they have fixtures that are going to appeal to me and I want them in. So I'm just going to quickly talk through the 6 that I've got in each individual category. So in the defenders, I always said that Kukurea was someone that I really wanted in my team. I just couldn't justify spending 6 mil. But in my head, I'm like going, I should have just got Collins up to Kukurea and just changed one of the 4.5s to a 4. And I could have had him in my team, would have been 9 points better off instead of having 0. But it is what it is. He's definitely on the watch list. I think he looked great. He took up great positions again for Chelsea. He actually, unfortunately, probably took up a bit too much of Cole Palmer's space. Aït-Nouri definitely has to be in there. I think when Squaviol comes back, it will be interesting to see how that goes in. But if he plays like that, he's going to be a great asset, specifically for Man City's defence. Livramento also looked really good at Newcastle, created a lot of chances. He just looked good. And Newcastle actually surprised me. I didn't expect them to perform that well. It'll be interesting to see how they go against Liverpool, but he's definitely on the watch list. Lacroix, he would be a straight swap for Collins. He looked really good. DC points, man. The dude just racks them up for fun. Truffert, he looked good actually going forward against Liverpool. I think from this week onwards against Wolves, he's definitely an option at 4.5 mil that maybe has been slept on. Yoro obviously picked up the DC points for Man United. He looked great. In the midfield is Semenyo. The card said Semenyo on the deadline stream, pick him over Rodgers. And the card was right, 15 points compared to 2. 3, I think it was. I don't know if Rodgers got booked. I can't honestly remember. But yeah, he got that one right. Jorginho looked good. He was playing as a number 9. He won the penalty. He's not on penalties though. O'Reilly was on penalties, which was interesting for Brighton. That's one to monitor moving forward. Anderson looked great. 5.5. I mean, you can't really go too far wrong there. The AI might have got that one right. Sarr, he looked good. He actually I think he got a goal line clearance. I don't know if that counts as a goal line clearance, but it is what it is. Rogers is still someone you need to worry about because of the fact he does play so many minutes for Aston Villa, and he's just nailed in that team. And you would expect him to get better over the coming weeks. Kudus, if he stays on the right-hand side, he's a player I'm interested in. If he starts moving around, I think he's going to be inconsistent, but he does have to be consistent. For that reason, he is a watch and wait. And at the moment, he's 6th on that list. In the forwards, it's definitely Haaland. I'm so tempted by Haaland. There's a world where I can obviously bring Thiago in as well if he keeps going, but I want to see a bit more from Brentford before going there. Wood also, potentially I could go there. He's got very nice fixtures post the Crystal Palace game, so for that reason, he definitely has to be considered. Richarlison, the Pigeon, I have him in draft, and I thought he was going to be good in game week 1. I do want to see him back it up, though, but he's also a real good bargain at 6 mil. Strand Larson looked pretty good, but he did go up. Well, he had that ankle issue in the second half, and potentially that needs to be monitored during the week, but he does come on there. And Ekitike, the next couple of fixtures, not interested. I'm surprised people are buying him for Newcastle and then Arsenal, but from game week 4 onwards, he could be a really good shout moving forward. So the game week 2 team and how it's looking at the moment, I am going to be swapping from a 3-5-2 to a 3-4-3 for this particular game week. Cody Gakpo is going to go to the bench for Vanlinson just because they've got the Wolves fixture at home, and I think that's probably better than Newcastle away. It is a tough call, though, because Gakpo on the bench, Collins on the bench, and Juve on the bench, and Dubravka on the bench almost feels like I could play a bench boost in game week 2 and expect some sort of return there. At the moment, I'm going Dorgu and De Kuyper and Milenkovic over the other 2 on the bench. Sells, I'm starting over Dubravka. I'm not sure about that. I will have to think about that a little bit more over the course of the week. At the moment, it's an easy captaincy choice. I am backing in Saka, even though he looked horrible against Man United. I think at home, against a promoted team, we should see a much better Arsenal performance, which means that Saka should be a lot more involved, and hopefully we'll get the returns I'm expecting. Cole Palmer will be the vice-captain. I mean, these 2, if both of them fail again, one of them will definitely be leaving for Haaland in game week 3. I can give you the hot tip straight off the bat. So this is their only warning. I am probably going to roll the transfer because of the fact that the team, on paper, actually looks pretty good for this week. Reindeers obviously has got Tottenham at home. He is literally pulling the D-Unit Slayer. Said he was going to, and he literally did in game week 1. Bruno hopefully can do something at Fulham. Man United actually were pretty desperately unlucky not to get something from that Arsenal game. They definitely deserve something. Unfortunately, maybe the game came slightly too early because Šeško started on the bench, and I think Amrin got his selection wrong by starting Ahmad on the bench instead of Dalot. Then up front, Vanlinson, Bowen and Watkins. I mean, Watkins is playing in Brentford defence, just were useless against Forest, so you would expect, hopefully, him to start doing something. West Ham will want to atone for the fact they got spanked 3 days on their opening fixture, so I'm thinking that Chelsea potentially still might be a little bit cold. I've got to roll it this week. I don't think it's worth panicking. I think it's actually best to roll the 1 transfer at this particular stage. I've still got 0.5 in the bank, so I'm not really too affected by price rises this week. For that reason, I think it makes sense to roll this week. So those are my transfer plans, my thoughts on the game weeks. The games I've seen in this game week. Let me know what you picked up that maybe I've missed, or other things you want me to cover this week in the videos that are coming. We'll be getting normal, regular content. This will be the kind of video I do on a Monday moving forward. Hopefully you found it insightful. Hopefully it's given you a bit of a pick-me-up because of the fact that your team might have done just as poorly as mine, or hopefully you feel much better because your team did better than mine. I'll cover the league later on once the Everton versus Leeds game happens tonight. That's exciting. Before you go, smash a like on the video, leave me a comment, share it on social media. That is the only thing I ask. That's the best way of growing the channel, and I know that you guys want to help me do it. Make sure you join the WhatsApp group if you want to talk all things FPL. The link is in the description. I'll also leave it in the comments. And if you haven't already, smash that subscribe button. I've been FPL D-Unit. That's been your Monday content. Thanks for watching.